some volume.
I was scheduled to give the 70-piece talk months ago, weeks ago. But in the interim, as Wilkie mentioned, and I think you all know, the great tragedy in the Vaishnava world has occurred with the departure of His Holiness Bhakti Swami yesterday, July 4th, 2020. And even though there is a memorial scheduled for Tuesday, which I encourage you all to participate in, since I was scheduled, I thought I would take this opportunity to speak a few words about the Holiness Bhakti Swami Maharaj. And I want to do that in several different categories. Several different categories of topics that I wanted to speak about. And I must admit that I'm doing it rather formally because, quite honestly, I'm emotionally spent. I have nothing left after the last 2 weeks of going through the daily ups and downs and the prognosis of Dr. Swami as he battled COVID-19 disease. I got a email earlier today in which a devotee, friend of mine, his name is Caru, he's not the Caru we have here in Gainesville, my board, he's the Minister of Cow Protection and Agriculture for ISKCON. He was writing to me and he was saying that he felt it would be good if that his ministry put out something about the Maharaj, a statement about him. And he asked me, could I help? And when I got that request, that's when I realized how emotionally draining this whole affair has been on me. And I told him that I just can't, at this point, cope with the reality of the situation. Give up the hope that somehow or another it can be reversed and we can once again have His Holiness Bhakti Swami in his physical form, walking among us and dancing with us in kirtan and instructing us from the Srimad Bhagavatam and other of the Vedic literature. So for that reason, there's some formal things I want to go over and read, and maybe we can delve into a more personal look at Bhakti Swami Maharaj's career in ISKCON. So just in case some of you are unaware of the details of the circumstances of Maharaj's departure, Hare Krishna.
It's just not working over there.
Not working. I told you something.
There's a whole lot.
You just have to speak louder, bro.
Okay, I hope I can speak loud enough so it goes selected to go to try to see what Vaishnava assistance he could render to Bhakti True Swami in the final moments. And so, I'd like to let you know that Prabhupada has confirmed that he arrived at the hospital before Bhakti True Maharaj departed. However, as you may expect, the hospital would require him to be sufficiently covered in order to be able to interact with a patient, a COVID-19 patient. And so it took him some time. It took him some time to suit up properly. And unfortunately, before he could finish that and enter the room, Raj had departed. So that's the sequence, just so you'll know. And he arrived at the hospital, suiting up took some time, and by the time he entered the room, Raj had already passed away. However, that is not the end of the story. There are other auspicious things that happened. First of all, it was the first day of Chaturmasya, Guru Purnima, and the disappearance day of Srila Sanatana Goswami. So he departed on an auspicious day. And there were auspicious articles that were in the room on doing to confirm that Srila Prabhupada's recording was playing in Maharaj's ear at the time of his departure. And that he was allowed to stay in the room. Usually they only get 15 minutes, but he was there for an hour and a half, chanting various mantras, putting Ganga water over Maharaj's body, placing tulsi leaves, etc. So he was there with auspicious items that usually accompany the departure of the Vaishnava, was able to administer those to His Holiness Bhakti, Caru Swami Maharaj. As Bhakti mentioned, there was a small ceremony this morning that was live streamed that showed the final rites from Maharaj at the funeral home, where he was dressed in Vaishnava attire, tilaka flag, and arti was performed. So those last rites, those final rites were given to Maharaj. I believe the plan is to transfer holy form of Maharaj to India, to Mayapur, for being placed in Samadhi. Of course, there are a lot of government formalities that have to take place. But there's a team of devotees that have been working on that. And as quickly as possible, Maharaj will be transferred there. Placed in full body Samadhi in Sridham Mayapur. The projected place, for those of you that are familiar with Sridham Mayapur, ISKCON, Sridham Mayapur, is near Krishna Maharaj's Samadhi, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj's Samadhi. There's a Samadhi area there that's just adjacent to Srila Prabhupada's Pushpa Samadhi. And Maharaj will be placed in Samadhi there. So those are some sort of technical things about Maharaj's departure. I'd like to then move on to a statement that was made by the GBC Executive Committee on behalf of the entire GBC body, glorifying Bhakti True Swami and thanking him for the service he's rendered to ISKCON over the last nearly 50 years. So I'll just read this, and I think it gives a very nice picture of the complete Vaishnava person that was and is His Holiness Bhakti Caru Swami Maharaj. Dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. It is with overwhelming heartache that we announce to you the departure of our beloved God-brother and dear most servant of Srila Prabhupada, His Holiness Bhakti Caru Swami. From his earliest days as a young devotee, Maharaj had the extraordinary privilege of serving as one of Srila Prabhupada's confidential personal servants. And ever since, His Holiness Bhakti Caru Swami's life has been an offering of love at the lotus feet of his spiritual master. Indeed, there was not a service that Maharaj did not perform for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada. As instructed in their very first meeting, Maharaj translated every one of Srila Prabhupada's written works into Bengali, the language of Srila Prabhupada's own birth. To fulfill this cherished order, Maharaj took on years of austerity, rising at midnight to carefully translate his spiritual master's divine words. Maharaj served as one of the most active members of the GBC body. He was an initiating spiritual master with many dedicated disciples all over the world. Let me just pause here and make a comment, because I learned something today about the extent of Maharaj's duties as an initiating guru for ISKCON. I knew, for instance, that he has thousands of disciples in Bangladesh. Actually, in Bangladesh, if you were a Hindu in Bangladesh, it means you're ISKCON, because no other Hindus preach as boldly and openly as ISKCON in Bangladesh. And so there are hundreds of thousands of devotees there, and Maharaj was one of the main initiating gurus for ISKCON. So in addition to the thousands and thousands of devotees he has there, I just learned this morning that in Singapore, tiny Singapore, he has 500 disciples in tiny Singapore. I mean, the scope of Maharaj's service as an initiating guru is mind-boggling. And you think he has disciples that are currently mourning for him throughout the world. So that's just a side note. He was an initiating spiritual master with many dedicated disciples all over the world. And he shared Krishna consciousness in every segment of society, from simple Bangladeshi villages to the British Parliament. Maharaj encouraged and advised ISKCON leaders in management and spiritual topics. He saved more than one ISKCON project in times of despair and did his utmost to contribute to the welfare of the most vulnerable members of society. Another side point as we go through this, Maharaj always cared for the devotees. There's so many stories that you'll hear, hopefully over the next few days, next few weeks, months, about Bhakti True Swami and his concern for the devotees. The mission and its objectives are there, and he tirelessly worked for that. But he didn't do it at the expense of the devotees, who were often the most vulnerable members of society. So continuing the GBC statement, one of Maharaj's unique contributions was the Abhay Charan television series that brought the glorious life and pastimes of Srila Prabhupada to the world on an unprecedented scale. Now, I guess we don't have that many people here, but how many people have seen that Abhay Charan series? What a production. They traveled the world with devotees, a big devotee crew, and they produced that.
And it was broadcast on Indian national television, Doordarshan, Indian national. That was in the days we had one channel. It was Doordarshan. So he produced that, 101 episodes. Was it 101, 104? Over 100 episodes. 108, why not? And most recently, Maharaj again heightened the glory of his spiritual master by building a marvelous temple and devotee community in the holy city of Ujjain. Maharaj's voice, sweeter than honey, has immortalized many of our Acharya's prayers, and most famously, Maharaj's heartfelt rendition of the Gopi song of separation from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam rings in our ears. Despite his position and many qualifications, both material and spiritual, Maharaj was a humble and loving gentleman who took pleasure in serving the devotees. Indeed, one of Maharaj's favorite pastimes was to personally cook and serve prasadam to the devotees, as in all aspects of his service. And gentle and cultured nature, Maharaj's cooking was highly refined and infused with bhakti. Every year at the GBC meetings in Mayapur, Bhakti True Swami would have 1 or 2 days where he invited several of the GBC members, and for the Grihastha, their wives as well, to take prasadam with him in his rooms in Mayapur. And it was always such a festive occasion, served Bengali style, traditional Bengali style, one sabji after another, and you had a chance to taste all of them individually. Painstakingly, cooked and served. So we got an idea of the Vaishnava gentleman that this statement refers to. Actually, let's pause a little bit for Vaishnava gentleman. When Prabhupada came here to Gainesville, he was interviewed by a reporter, and a reporter asked him, "How will we recognize your disciples? We meet people in society. How will we recognize your disciples? What will be the distinguishing feature about them by which we can know that they're your disciples?" Does anybody know what Prabhupada said? Yes, he said, they'll be perfect gentlemen. So who was the more perfect gentleman than Bhakti True Swami Maharaj? When I think of the times where I met him, and just his countenance in approaching me was so disarming and opening and welcoming. And he always followed that by very cultured behavior in dealing and asking, "When did you come? Are you properly situated? Staying nicely? Is there anything you need? Just let me know." Actually, one of the things I need when I go to Mayapur is generally to get shaved up. And so one year when he said that to me, I said, "Well, I need to get shaved." Immediately, he had a brahmachari come, get the razor, take him to his place and shave him up as he requires. He was always ready to serve the devotees in that way, in a nice Vaishnava gentleman manner. So back to the reading here. There are no words that provide solace when facing separation from such a glorious Vaishnava, but we can take some comfort in the fact that His Holiness Bhakti True Swami lived constantly in meditation on how to serve Srila Prabhupada and his mission. Undoubtedly, he has now continues that service under the direction of His divine grace. Let us offer true homage to Maharaj by continuing his legacy of service in our own lives. Let us commit ourselves, mind, body, and soul to the service of Srila Prabhupada, following in the footsteps of his beloved servant, His Holiness Bhakti Swami. One of Maharaj's most cherished instructions from His Divine Grace was, "Your love for me will be shown by how you cooperate together after I am gone." Now, in Maharaj's absence, we are reminded to take that instruction to heart and reaffirm our dedication to ISKCON and to each other. We also commit ourselves as Maharaj's servants to assist and care for his loving disciples in his absence. It was very important to Maharaj that we operate as one family in Srila Prabhupada's service, and we remind you today that although Maharaj is no longer physically present, you are protected by the shelter of many devotees who are ready to offer you the support you may require at this difficult time and in the future. So it's a call for all of us individually to reach out to Maharaj's disciples, console them, guide them, give them association. I don't think we have that many of Maharaj's disciples in our community, but we can take it as a general instruction to interact with all devotees in the Vaishnava manner that he would have desired, in a caring, loving role for those that are dependent on older devotees for instruction and guidance. So we can take that, even if it's not directly to serve Maharaj's disciples, but if we get that fortune, we should be able to extend ourselves there as well. As Maharaj often glorified Srila Prabhupada with the beautiful words of the gopis, let us also remember Maharaj as the most munificent Vaishnava who will eternally inspire the followers of Srila Prabhupada to share the glories of Lord Krishna. His Holiness Bhakti Swami Ki Jai. You know, there's a phenomenon that happens in practically any field that's out there where, whether it's sports or music or other forms of art or whatever, when an instructor finds that special student, that special athlete that has been placed in their care, they always look back after the career of some great athlete or artist to their teacher, and their teacher can tell them that, "I knew he was special, I knew she was special." Even though they were not fully developed, they saw the potential, the talent, and they look back and they say, "At that point I knew this was a special person." Well, that's the way Srila Prabhupada, in my estimation anyway, looked at His Holiness Bhakti Swami. And what did he do to show that this person is a special person? This is a special devotee. Well, Maharaj came to Srila Prabhupada only in late 1976, and he served him up until Prabhupada's departure in November 77. But in that time, Prabhupada recognized, and he awarded him recognition in two ways. First, he gave him first and second initiation at the same time. What was his name? Chir Gopinath. He gave him first and second initiation at the same time. And then, only 3 months later, he gave him sannyas. He recognized this is a special devotee, and he situated him in the ashram, sannyas ashram. That wasn't easy because devotees were thinking, well, who's this new man? Getting to take sannyas, being given sannyas. But Prabhupada was insistent. They tried to stop it, actually. But Prabhupada was insistent, no. He'll show in time. Actually, just a little anecdote. Sannyasis in ISKCON now are given the name Bhakti so much. Bhakti this, Bhakti that. But that hadn't happened in ISKCON prior. Bhakti True Swami was the first Bhakti somebody, Swami Maharaj. So he was a special person and he was treated like that by Srila Prabhupada. Indeed, he performed a very intimate service for Srila Prabhupada and for all of us at the end of Srila Prabhupada's pastimes. So let's see what else we have here. Maybe just a couple of things about awards that Bhakti True Swami got that you may not be aware of. By the way, he was 74 years old. I was surprised when I found out his age, because I always thought he was looking younger and he had vitality of a younger person, but he was 74. And he became a member of the GBC in 1986, I believe. He became an initiating guru in 1987. In 2014, he established a Ayurvedic clinic in Ujjain, where many devotees and others have received treatment. He was, in 2016, he released his memoir, Ocean of Mercy. Very easy reading, wonderful account of his experiences with Srila Prabhupada. I recommend everyone to read that if they can. It's called Ocean of Mercy. Very beautiful book. In 2016, the Institute of International Social Development in New York, an NGO in special consultative services with the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations, awarded an accolade to Bhakti True Swami as a display of their gratitude for all the support he gave them on behalf of ISKCON in spreading the message of spirituality, world peace and understanding between nations and civilizations. I was making the point last night in speaking to some devotees that Bhakti True Swami was such a, well, as we read in their statement, the GBC statement, he could relate to simple Bengali villagers or world leaders. I do believe, and correct me if I'm not right, but when the Prime Minister of England, of the UK, visited Bhaktivedanta Manor a few years ago, Bhakti True Swami was one of the devotees they wanted to be there because he knew how to deal with and impress world leaders. Indeed, he was an impressive person. The Chief Minister of the state of West Bengal released a statement on Twitter yesterday about the passing of Bhakti True Swami Maharaj. I want to read that to you. As you know, Twitter, it's short, so. She says, very grieved to hear about the departure of Bhakti True Swami, senior ISKCON sannyasi and spiritual leader. His works and teachings will remain with the followers of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. My condolences to his many disciples and devotees of ISKCON. You may or may not know, but Mamta Banerjee, Chief Minister of the state of West Bengal, is helping ISKCON in a very big way to establish a national heritage site of Sridham Mayapur with the temple and surrounding lands. To get that government permissions was a big struggle, but in meeting devotees like Bhakti True Swami, Mamta Banerjee decided to help ISKCON. One thing that I'll end with here, and then maybe some of you have some comments, although please hold your comments for the program on Tuesday. Everyone will get a chance to speak about their experience with Maharaj. But what I wanted to do is something I think that he would like, because I was in his personal presence many times when he talked about Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's poem, Sahagrahi Vaishnav. So I'd like to read that. It's in English. Bhakti True Swami was such a refined gentleman that he appreciated art, he appreciated literature, he appreciated poetry, and he would show this English poem when he was meeting with artists and academics around the world to show the rich Vaishnava culture that we have. Because this poem expresses so many Vaishnava truths, but it's written in English. The original language is English. And it's very, very beautifully written. Hopefully I can do it justice by reading. Again, Sahagrahi Vaishnava. Alas for those that spend their days, this is dedicated to Bhakti True Swami Maharaj. Alas for those that spend their days in festive mirth and joy. The dazzling liquid forms their hearts for air employ. The shining bottles charm their eyes and draw their hearts' embrace. The slaves of wine can never rise from what we call disgrace. Was man intended to be a brute in work and heart? Should man, the Lord of all around, from common sense depart? Man's glory is in common sense, dictating us the grace that man is made to live and love, the beauteous heavens embrace. The flesh is not our own, alas, the mortal frame a chain, the soul confined for former wrongs should try to rise again. Why then this childless play in that which cannot be our own, which falls within 100 years, as if a rose ablown? Our life is but a rosy hue, to go ere long to naught. The soul alone would last for e'er, with good and evil fraught. How deep the thoughts of times to be, how grave the aspect looks, and wrapped in awe, become when reading nature's books. Man's life to him a problem dark, a screen both left and right. No soul hath come to tell us what exists beyond our sight. But then a voice, how deep and soft, within ourselves is left. Man, man, thou art immortal soul, thee death can never melt. For thee thy sire on high has kept a store of bliss above. To end of time thou art, O his, who once but purest love. O love, thy power and spell benign, now melt my soul to God. How can my earthly words describe that feeling soft and broad? Enjoy, sorrow, what but lots to which the flesh is heir? The soul that sleeps alone concludes, in them it hath a share. And then, my friend, no more enjoy, nor weep for all below. The women, wine, and flesh of beasts, no love these bestow. But thine to love thy brother man, and give thyself to God, and God doth know your wages fair. This fact is true and broad. Forget the past that sleeps, and ne'er the future dream at all, but act in time that is with thee, and progress thee shall call. But tell me no, in reasoning cold, the soul is made alone by earth's mechanic lifeless rules, and to destruction prone. My God, who gave us life and all, alone the soul can kill, or give it all the joys above, his promise to fulfill. So push thy onward march, O soul, against an evil deed that stands with soldiers, hate and lust, a hero be indeed. Maintain thy post in spirit world as firmly as you can. Let never matter push thee down, O stand, heroic man. Sagrahi Vaishnava soul, thou art an angel fair. Lead me on to Vrindavan, and spirit's power declare. There rests my soul from matter free, upon my lover's arms. Eternal peace and spirit's love are all my chanting charms. Such a beautiful poem depicting the truths of Vaishnavism and challenging all of us to stand, O heroic man. Bhakti Caru Swami loved that poem, and I offer it to him today. So I'll stop there. If anyone has any comments or glorification of Maharaj, again, we do have our program on Tuesday. Everyone will have a chance to speak, and just anyone wants to take a few minutes right now. Anybody? Yes, Krishna.
I just got this excerpt from His Holiness Bhakti Caru Swami's 2012 offering to Srila Prabhupada on his Vyasa Puja, and thought it was pretty amazing. He says, when you left this planet, those instructions remained as my guiding beacon. Although my heart ached with constant agony due to your separation, I tried to remember that you were always there. At that time, I used to imagine that just as a mother sometimes hides while teaching her son to walk, urging him to start walking by searching for her, similarly, you are hiding behind some invisible curtain so that I will search for you and thus develop my ardent desire to go where you are. Those days, I used to think I had so many things to do here. Therefore, I needed to stay. Now that I have done whatever you wanted me to do, please allow me to go back to you. You have already called back so many of your dear children. Now please allow me to have this good fortune. Aspiring to be your eternal servant, Bhakti Caru Swami.
Wow. Again, right from the very beginning, if you read Maharaj's autobiography, he talks about how he always wanted to be with Srila Prabhupada. And he actually tells a sequence of events. One time he was in the room, and there was some gentleman visiting Mayapur talking to Srila Prabhupada, and they had been there some time, so Prabhupada finally said, okay, everyone should go to Arti. And so Maharaj got up along with the other gentlemen and left. But then when he was in the temple room, he was thinking, I want to be with Srila Prabhupada. So he went back to Prabhupada's room and knocked on the door. And Prabhupada said, yes, what do you want? He said, Prabhupada, I want to be with you. So Prabhupada said, come in. So he sat down again. And again Prabhupada asked him, so what is it you want? You've come, you must want something. And what did he say, Madhu?
He said that, I'd like to be your disciple, I want to be initiated by you.
I'd like to be your disciple. That's what he wanted. I'd like to be your disciple. I want to be initiated by you. And Srila Prabhupada said, sure. Do that. So he always wanted to be with Prabhupada. That's prophetic, what you read. He wanted to be with Prabhupada. He is with Srila Prabhupada at this point. But one last thing I can read. This is it's a letter to Maharaj's disciples, but it's by Bhanu Swami, and it talks about separation from Srila Prabhupada. So he says, His Holiness Bhanu Swami says, there is no reason not to honor any devotee of Krishna. However, if the devotee exhibits the qualities mentioned in Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, how much more we must honor that devotee. Bhakti True Swami was known by all who met him as the most gentle, humble, compassionate, and learned devotee. Everyone valued his association. Thus, in his absence, there will be feelings of great loss for everyone. But for his disciples, there will be extreme feelings of vacancy because of their relationship to him as his dependent, like the feelings of a child on the loss of his parent. Since this relationship is spiritual, the loss is felt even more intense. However, as devotees, we also have a special vision explained in Bhagavad Gita by Srila Prabhupada. The devotee has no death, no departure. He is the eternal servant of Krishna. Thus Bhakti True Swami serves joyfully wherever Krishna places him. For us who are still living, and especially for his disciples, there are feelings of intense loss and separation. But by spiritual vision, we can see him as still living. This is accomplished by continuing service to him, by trying to remember and follow his dearest instructions. I'm sure that if disciples follow this principle, they will live with him and continue to be inspired by him. Srila Prabhupada, by remembering and following the order of his spiritual master, was able to accomplish the impossible. I'm sure that all of Bhakti True Swami's disciples following this path will be able to accomplish the greatest task for the pleasure of Sri Krishna. May this be some compensation for the loss of his physical presence. Bhakti Caru Swami Ki Jai. His Holiness Bhakti Caru Swami Ki Jai. His Holiness Bhakti Caru Swami Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Mutaya Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Ati Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauranga Shane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Sata.